Hello, Supercars in Seconds here. Today we got an interesting question I get asked a lot. What's the difference between the 570 GT and the new McLaren GT? So coming down to the low corner at high speed, a hard right-hander. Let's try second. Boy, transmission, still a McLaren. Here they are. So we have the McLaren GT and the 570 GT. This is a 2018 car that's just come in. We have a trade here and a brand new one there. The big difference is we're going to go through and you're going to explain them. A little bit of difference in weight. This one about 3,315 pounds. This one about 3,385. So maybe what's that, 60, 70 pounds difference. Mostly because of length. There are some extra lightweight components in here, but this car's 6 inches longer at 184 inches, 178 inches long here. So similar size car, I guess. If they were parked next to each other, they would look a similar size. I do like the smoother door on the new GT. The old 570 GT had that body color inside the recess, where of course on the 570S it was that palladium finish or carbon fiber as the option in here. I actually liked the GT mostly because of that rear sleek back end, and that's echoed now into the new car over there as well. So let's take a look at the storage in both. So as far as keys, both exactly the same. This one is the new car, so I'm going to put that one in my pocket. And now we have unlock, the padlock, lock, and the little picture of the car has 2 bumps. The wheels are buttons. So the front one here is the front trunk. I will pop that, hold it for 3 seconds. And the rear wheel is the rear trunk. So I'll push and hold that and it pops it open. So let's pull up here. We go inside there. Now you'll notice United States car here. So I drive on the left hand side. Therefore it hinges on the same side. So if you're stood on the curb, it will always be available to access it safely from the curb. So looking into this storage area, you can see there's little latches here. Then they have ones that line up down there so you can strap things safely in there. And bigger than you think. When we first saw this car, I went for training on the car. We actually put 4 car covers in this hole. So it's a bigger space than you think. Certainly not an SUV, but not designed for that. It's also 47 inches high and does 210 miles an hour. So not really an SUV, but frankly, much more usable storage space than most other sports cars in this class. Beautiful interior work here. Say this one's done 20,000 miles. You can see that driver's seat still looking beautiful. The Harissa red against the silver was always one of my favorite builds. So now with the new GT, we have, of course, the same thing. Lock, unlock, it's the same key pretty much. But again, the front one, push and hold, 3 seconds, pops the front trunk. This rear one, the biggest difference from the 570 is this. It's a full hatchback all the way to the rear of the car. So now I get this little storage area in here. This little thing has a zipper on it, so I can undo it and store things right in there so they don't float around when you're doing 3 seconds to 60 miles an hour and so on. Both rear door frames are forged carbon fiber. I don't know if you can see that there. The composite squashed and forged into shape. You can see it more down here perhaps. Of course, making it incredibly strong but incredibly light, keeping our center of gravity nice and low. Both cars have the engine underneath here, but there's underneath there's a heat shield, metal heat shield, 2-inch gap, then another metal heat shield before the motor, keeping us nice and cool. So again, let's close this back down. We have a little image of the rear trunk, so just push that button and down she goes. Both very beautiful cars, of course, aimed at the same person, looking for a daily driven supercar. And that's really a lot of fun. Giving the customer a car that they can drive every day has really been a big change for us, and they've both been very successful within the brand. As far as front storage, getting to the same height as the vehicles here, now you can start to see that the new GT is slightly higher on the nose, giving us a bit more storage space up front. Still both very good. Let's open them both up. I've actually popped them. So there's one and there's the other. So a similar shape. It's just this nose section's a little higher on the new GT, giving us a more square section rather than a sloped section. Both very good, and McLaren make beautifully shaped luggage that does fit into these holes as well. So 570 GT's interior, of course, very much the 570S. Not much differences there. The seat is the same, etc., etc. But you did get some nice options as standard. The electric seat was standard, the electric steering column, etc. Some of our customers actually liked the manual seat because it would go lower in the car. The nice thing, let me climb into this GT. The nice thing is that driver's eye view, of course, just beautiful. Amazingly low scuttle in these cars to keep that weight down, but also visions, being able to see out of the car so well is really a nice thing in the 570. Let's take a look at the difference now to the new GT. So door panel actually looks very similar, does have the similar secret storage in the door there. Climbing inside. Well, actually a similar look. The longer paddles in metal this time, which is rather nice. Based on a similar architecture on the inside. The surround around the screen's a little bit larger, and my center display, my center console here is considerably larger. The seat is softer. Getting out of that one straight into this one, the seat is definitely softer and possibly more comfortable for sure. Having been with the McLaren brand for a long time, what I enjoy is how they do listen to the clients and can adjust the designs of the cars to work with that. An example is down here. We have our cup holders and a third cup holder here, but the hot liquid cup holder, for example, there. But either side of that, they've made a slot for us, which will fit the largest cell phones. As you know, if you've driven a supercar, you'll know it's somewhat difficult to find. You've got to keep it a phone in your pocket or wherever it is. That's really a great answer, where it's secure and safe when you're throwing this 612 horsepower car around. So speaking of that 612 horsepower, here was 612 horsepower, 457 pounds of torque. Here, 562 horsepower, 443 pounds of torque. So let's take them out one by one. Let's do the 18 first, and then come back and do the 2020 new GT second. So even though it's the GT, still a McLaren and incredibly adjustable. Let's go down to the modes down here. So we're going to push active. That will switch these two little dials on. Again, the left one, I'm sure you know, but has a H, that's handling. This is controlling pressure in my hydraulic dampers. So I'm going to push that active. There we go, I'm adjusting mostly the front dampers are adjusting here. P for powertrain is throttle response, gear change speed, and opens up baffles in the exhaust. Something interesting about the 570 GT, the sports exhaust on the 570 GT was the standard exhaust on the 570S. So again, it was sort of one step down in volume, again for more use on the road and being more comfortable. Okay, so let's get going. So I'm not going to launch, I'm just going to hit it. Let's see what happens. Oh, good power. Great power. The suspension's set a little softer than it is in the S, and I frankly think it makes this car more dramatic. Through Batman's corner, a little bit of roll, but not bad. Boy, up to 8,500 there, very, very fast. Just over 14 inches front rotors, let's hit them. Oof. Very good. Not quite the bite of the ceramics, but a much better feel with these steel rotors. So coming down to the low corner at high speed, a hard right-hander. Let's try second. Boy, transmission, still a McLaren. Good exit speed. Very flat torque too. It seems to come in very early and just be pushing on you very, very firmly. Very solid car. In track mode, it's a different animal than it is in the comfort mode. It's really an enjoyable car to drive fast. So I think McLaren did a masterful job of taking the 570S and turning it into a more daily driven car. The comfort, the transmission, the way it changes gear is much more fluid in this car. Very, very enjoyable. You don't really miss the ceramic rotors, frankly. The brakes are amazing. The power is pretty addictive. Even though it's the GT, it's still just over 6 seconds to 100 miles an hour. So really a very impressive car. I love all the glass too. This glass, you can get it above my head where you can change, I think it's called electrochromic, you can change it to different levels of tint. I don't really do that much for my customers in Florida. I like the darker tint because it gets so hot here. But it is a pretty cool option to watch it working. Let's try the other car. So now we're in the new GT, and driver's eye view, actually similar out the front, is not that changed, although the McLarens have unprecedented levels of visibility. If I put that up to my eye height, I mean, look at that, you don't even see the dash really. It's very, very impressive. The biggest difference, I think, is in what they've given us, meaning all of the controls. Even my controls for the mirrors and the headlights, the AC vents, all of the controls down here are milled from one piece of metal. You know, we've gone from those polymer buttons in the other car into these milled, beautiful gauges and buttons that have a very crisp click to their adjustment. You can hear it there perhaps as I adjust it. A very nice, solid feel to everything. So it's like they stepped up the luxury. All right, so let's take off in this monster. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna roll into it, and we're in manual track, so let's go. Oof, yeah, it's more of a push there. That 4 litre, oh, I need some fuel. That 4 litre, as from the 3.8 with the electric turbos, just spools up much, much faster. There, man. Yeah, it's different. The same road traction, just over 14 inches. Let's hit it. Yeah, I get more pitch in this one. The nose seems to dip more than it did in the other car. So it definitely feels like a better bite. So coming down at very high speed. Much nicer growl out of this exhaust. Let's try in second gear. Yeah, it turns in better. This is interesting what they've achieved here, because I think it's the racing sort of pedigree in the suspension. From the other car to this one, the ride is softer for sure in this car. However, it corners better. So I think an easy way to say this, in straight line traveling, the suspension moves up and down more, but as soon as I turn a corner, there's no lean. So it allows vertical movement, but not side to side. They really are just geniuses in vehicle dynamics. So pulling back into the dealership here. Oof, time to relax. These cars are intense. Even though they're the GT cars, they're supposed to be the soft, comfortable ones. They're pretty intense on your body. It's a workout. I think in summary, the 570 GT these days as a pre-owned car is a 2018 with 22,000 miles, probably under 150,000 bucks. Really a lot of car for that. Again, just over 6 seconds to 100 miles an hour. Really makes it a pretty compelling argument. The car I'm in right now is a 210 base, so it only went up about 6,000 or 8,000 from the previous model. But there's a lot more content. They've really given us a much more advanced drive and amazing power. It really is intoxicating. They both feel very similar, up to about 5,000 revs. Then this thing has another gear of power. The electric actuation, I think, of those turbochargers keeps them on the boil better. There's not any sort of spool up time. It's just ready to go, and very, very impressive to drive. Well, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed that 570 GT to the new McLaren GT. Same, only different. They are very much the more advanced car here. Well, I got my McLaren Bane from Batman mask on. That's right, Batman. I hate wearing these silly masks. Hopefully they'll be gone away soon. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. I'd like you to be a part of this and join us for the videos. I'll put a link in down here for the McLaren 720S to show the active aerodynamics. Really a cool video that I had the camera facing backwards during a launch, so that's fun to watch. I'll see you again soon. Thank you.